All right, let's get right into this one. What you're about to hear is a true account from a sports teacher named Rohan. It's the story of a New Year's trip that went so incredibly wrong, and it really serves as a chilling lesson in what not to do when you're traveling in the mountains.
And this is a direct quote from Rohan himself, which just perfectly sets the stakes. This isn't just some campfire ghost story. It's a real warning. And every single thing that happens from this point on just hammers that message home.
So, our story kicks off with a group of 9 school teachers from Delhi. They're all good friends, totally stoked for a much-needed break to ring in the new year in this beautiful, remote town called Jibbi in Himachal Pradesh. But, well, right from the very beginning, it felt like something was trying to stop them.
And this timeline just shows you how strange the start really was. Rohan, the guy who planned the whole thing, suddenly gets so sick he can hardly move. He said it literally felt like something was holding him down, warning him not to go. But then, get this, the second he drags himself onto that bus on New Year's Day, the sickness just, poof, vanishes. That right there is a massive red flag.
So a few hours into the trip, the bus stops at a hotel for a break. Rohan heads to the washroom, and while he's just washing his hands, he gets this intense feeling, like a really big, tall person is standing right next to him. He glances over, nobody's there. But the feeling just gets stronger, like that unseen person has now moved right behind him.
And that's when he hears it. A crystal clear whisper right in his ear, in Hindi, saying, "Don't go. There is danger there." He whips around, and there's nothing. Just an empty, cold bathroom. He tries to shake it off, thinking it's just his mind playing tricks after being so sick, and he doesn't tell anyone. This was the first direct warning, and he ignored it.
Okay, so let's get to the bus journey itself. Rohan's trying to forget what he heard and just rejoins his friends. The whole group is in party mode, they're playing music, dancing, just having a good time. But that fun, festive vibe is about to lead them straight into their first really terrifying encounter.
Late at night, deep in the mountains, one of the women, Diksha, really needs a bathroom break. The driver is not happy about it. He tells him it's a really bad place to stop. It's just a narrow, winding road surrounded by thick black forest. But, they insist. So he pulls over, and the women go just a little ways into the woods. The driver knew better. He knew this was a bad idea.
Everyone gets back on the bus, and they take off. About 5 minutes later, her friends notice Diksha is acting weird. She's just staring, like super intensely, at an older woman on the bus who'd complained about their music earlier. Then, as Diksha turns to go back to her seat, she just collapses right there on the floor of the bus.
Now look, this was not a simple fall or a panic attack. The physical proof was horrifying. She was gasping, couldn't breathe, and was clawing at her own neck like she was trying to pull someone's hands off her throat. When she could finally speak, she said she was violently pushed from behind by something she couldn't see. And then her friends saw them. 4 bright red finger marks on her neck. Proof. Something unseen had just attacked her.
Okay, so even after that terrifying attack on Diksha, the group tries to rationalize it, trying not to let it completely kill their trip. They finally make it to Jibbi early the next morning. But as they get to their remote wooden cabin, the weirdness is about to escalate into something just surreal and absolutely horrifying.
The cabin they booked is about a kilometer's walk uphill from where the bus could stop. Rohan really has to use the restroom, so he hikes up by himself while the rest of the group waits down on the road with all the luggage. He tells them he'll be back in maybe 10 or 12 minutes. This little separation, it's the key to what happens next.
And this is where your blood just runs cold. While the real Rohan was up in the cabin for a good 10 minutes, his friends down below saw something totally different. They saw what looked exactly like Rohan come walking back down the path after only a minute. This thing, this doppelganger, completely ignored them when they called out, ran silently to the edge of a nearby cliff, and just jumped into the ravine. Can you just imagine that scene? His friends are screaming his name, crying, absolutely sure he's dead. And then the real Rohan comes walking down the path from the cabin. His friend Riddhi just stares at him in total shock and says this to him. That was the moment they knew. They weren't dealing with a weird feeling anymore. Something was actively trying to trick them and to hurt them. So they're completely shaken, but they try to pull it together and settle in. But whatever followed them from that forest was not done with them. Not even close. The final night in that isolated house would be the absolute peak of this whole nightmare.
That evening, Riddhi, the same friend who saw the doppelganger, starts acting really off. She's by herself, just staring at the sky with this look of pure rage on her face. When Rohan goes to check on her, she snaps at him in this angry, aggressive voice that sounded nothing like her.
Back inside, everything just exploded. Riddhi suddenly starts crying hysterically and then just bolts for the door. Rohan, who's a big guy, a 6'1", 93-kilo sports teacher, tries to stop her, but she shoves him with so much force he literally flies 10 feet across the room. She runs into the next room over and locks the door. Rohan peeks through a tiny gap in the window curtain and sees something impossible. Riddhi was sliding straight up the wall, her feet dangling in the air, like something was pulling her to the ceiling by her hair.
Rohan is panicking. He does the only thing he can think of. He video calls his guru, a priest from a temple he knows back in Delhi. He shoves his phone camera into that tiny gap, showing his guru what's happening in real time. As the guru starts chanting mantras over the phone, Rohan watches as Riddhi just drops from the wall, slumping to the floor. She's unconscious, but she's safe.
The next morning, Rohan knows one thing for sure. They have to get out of there. These aren't just subtle hauntings anymore. These are violent physical attacks. His only priority is getting his friends away from this place and finding someone who can explain what the hell has been happening to them. Their bus wasn't actually scheduled until 5 p.m., but Rohan wasn't risking one more minute in that house. He lies to the group, says the bus is leaving at 11 a.m. just to force everyone to pack up and check out right away. He gets them in a car and drives them straight to a local temple in Jibbi, totally desperate for answers. And this is it. This is the explanation that connects all the horrifying pieces. The local priest listened to their whole story, and the moment they mentioned that stop in the forest, he held up his hand. After concentrating for a minute, he told them that two of the girls, Diksha and Riddhi, had used the bathroom under a peepal tree, a tree that's considered sacred. He said this act disturbed two spirits that lived in that tree, and those spirits latched onto the women and followed them with the intention of killing them and taking them. And then the priest dropped this bombshell on them. The danger wasn't over. Not at all. He told them the spirits couldn't come onto the holy ground of the temple, but they were right outside waiting for them. The possession, the choking, the doppelganger, it was all these things trying to get what they wanted. So to save them, the priest performed a small ritual. He tied a sacred thread around everyone's wrist for protection and then gave them these very, very specific instructions. They had to walk away from the temple together, and all at once they had to say that command out loud to formally cut the connection. And the last, most critical rule, once you say it, do not look back. No matter what you hear, no matter what you feel, do not turn around. They did exactly what the priest said, and they made it back to Delhi safely, but they were forever changed by it. Rohan shared this whole story as a warning. When we travel, we're basically guests in places that have their own rules, their own beliefs. And it's a pretty stark reminder that some of the most important rules aren't written down in any travel guide. Which really leaves us with a big question to think about. What unseen rules of nature and local belief should we all be more careful to respect?